Hi, in this video I'm going to be replacing the Recaro seats in the JZX110 for a different set of seats. So since driving the car for the last week or so, initially I thought the Recaro was really comfortable, but on a long drive last Sunday they were quite hard on the back of my legs and my arse, which would make long drives very uncomfortable. So I thought, well, I need to find some replacement seats that are going to be comfortable, especially if I want to do car shows in the coming years and long drives and whatnot. So yeah, I headed down to GSM Performance in Nottingham. They've got a showroom full of different style seats, recliners, buckets, full-on race seats with like the head wrap-around bits, harnesses, steering wheels, cages, like you name it, they could probably get it. So yeah, so I went there to have a look. So they work off appointments only for the showroom. So I made an appointment to view some seats, and I had two seats in mind. Both were made by a brand called Corbeau or Corbeau, I don't know how you pronounce it. And unfortunately, the two that I was interested in, they didn't have any on display, but they said, well, we've got these four, hopefully one of these will sort of tick the boxes. So had a sit in them, and one of them sort of dug into my back. Well, two of them dug into my back. One of them dug into my legs, back of my legs, and then the ones that I've gone for are perfect. So I wasn't discomfort, or uncomfortable, shall I say. Had no discomfort, and yeah, just ticked all the boxes. The only downside is they're not as bolstered as some of the other seats, so I wouldn't rely on these purely as a track seat. I mean, then again, being recliner, you probably wouldn't want to use it as a dedicated seat anyway. But so yeah, for what I'm going to be using the car for, with the odd track day, these should be fine. I contacted GSM and asked if they could price match, because I did notice that the seats were a lot cheaper direct from Corbeau, and unfortunately they couldn't match the price. So went to them directly, and while I was at GSM, we worked out that the Recaros actually have a wider bolt pattern compared to these ones. So they advised some brackets which also came the same day, so I'll use them to adapt the current aftermarket rails to fit the new seats. So here they are, that's the big mammoth box, and then brackets on top. I have technically already opened these because I had to get it in the car, so I suppose this is the official unveiling. So right, let's set this camera up on the tripod and show you. So these are my Corbeau, again, however you want to pronounce it, SVR seats. So these are a black vinyl finish. You can get these in leather, but obviously leather jumped up in price. So made here in the UK, which is quite cool. Quite a low mount side bolster or lower base bolster. Should be good for daily driving. So yeah, there we go. I think they're much better than the Recaros. I mean, it's cool to have Recaros, but I mean, for a start, they're orange, which won't go with the car, and they're not suitable for me. So yeah, very happy with these. So let's crack on with fitting them. So starting off, we need to remove the current seat. So there's 4 14mm bolts that hold the seat in. So with the seat slid forward, you can now access the 2 rear ones. With the bolts removed, it can now be removed out of the car. Before it be removed, you've got to disconnect the seatbelt buckle or seatbelt warning plug. And now you can remove it. So with the seat removed and on some cardboard, or it could be an old bed sheet or something like that, we can finally get access to the bottom of the seat. So we need to move the slider or the rail, sliding rail, up or down to gain access to bolts, which top ones are here. They look like 12mm. So the bolts that hold this seat to this rail are 10mm. And then same again with the upper ones. There we go, one seat rail. So with our GSM brackets, let's carefully open these up. That's just the invoice. Some bolts. You can buy these brackets without the bolts, but I just thought it'd be easier with them. At least I know the correct length, size, tensile, etc. More bolts. Here they are. So these are multi-purpose. You'll be able to see up the shadow. So they've got various holes drilled for various bolt patterns, which should make this a little easier. So I've now lined up the holes. So it looks like the Recaro seats had one hole used on the rear, and then there was two holes used in the front. I'm guessing some have 2 front, 2 back. I don't know why. They only used one on the rear, but I'm not too sure. So line them up, and then the bag of nuts and bolts, you get some Allen cap, bolts, washers, and nylocks. Pick up. There we go. So I'll go ahead and mount these like that, and hopefully the new seats will bolt in to one of these. So that's now done. These are now tight. Obviously, I'm hoping that the base will fit in one of these holes. If not, the brackets then have to move over or in another hole on the rail to suit. So let's grab a seat and see how close we are. So the new seats already have bolts pre-installed. So are they the same Allen key size? They are. So the Allen keys that fit this and the rail are 6mm hex, and the lock nut, lock nut is a 13. So you'll have to use a deep 13 to get through the rail, and then 6mm for the hex. So let's see if this will line up. No, so front one will probably be okay on this one here, but this bracket needs to come over because the bolt is actually there. Even then, I still don't think it's going to be enough. So the front bracket was, now for some reason they're on the front of the rail, there's 3 holes. I don't know if you be able to see that. 1, 2, and then 3. So I've had to go to the furthest one, which do line up. And as you can see, evidence of this washer had some issues. So the existing bolts are slightly too short for these black ones here, which came with the brackets. My issue is the bolt that bolts secures the bracket to the rail. You can see it's digging in. So what I've had to do, or just go out and get some longer bolts, which are M8 by 30. I've also got these nylon spacers, which will hopefully space it. So if I can get the camera to actually move where I need it to move. So where my finger is, the spacer will be there. It's really hard moving the camera with a gimbal. So finger, that's where the bolt goes. Spacer, because it started to bend this bracket here. As I was tightening the bolt, it was then bowing. So I don't want to do that. So I'll give it a try. The rears, it is digging in a little bit, so I'll probably have to do the same for that. So after an absolute headache and some swearing, spacers are now on. Be able to see it down there. Spacer and spacer. Turns out these front bolts weren't in the right position. Ended up having to drill them larger just to try and move the bolt inwards a bit. Inwards, outwards, I honestly can't remember. I think it's inwards from memory. Ended up snapping a 10mm drill bit Lovely jubbly. But passenger side is now all on. I'll pre-drill one bracket before I make the start on the driver's side, and just to make things a little bit easier, but that is now on. So here we are, passenger side now fitted. Much better. So next I'll make a start on the driver's side. Again, same thing, 4 bolts, 2 at the front, 2 at the rear, plug on the bottom, and yeah, we'll get this seat off the rail. So that's now out. So again, two at the top either side, and then 1 at the bottom. And that's the driver's side now done. Spaces. Lovely jubbly. Now I know what to do with this bracket. It saved a lot of time. Still annoying that I've had to do that, but I suppose that's the joys of universal stuff. So time to get this mounted and see what the final look will look like. And there we have it, 1 bucket seat install. So very happy with how these have turned out. Obviously the first one was always going to be a bit trial and error because I didn't know what I needed to do, how to do it, etc. But them M2 mounts, I think they're called M2, Motorsport Endurance, honestly I can't remember. So yeah, that was a good shout from GSM for using those mounts. It saved me a lot of time making my own brackets. But yeah, very happy with how the installs came out. So very happy with the comfort of these. But it's very close to this B pillar. I think if the seat was a little bit further forward, it might be tricky. So yeah, you do sit a little higher with these ones, but just something I'll have to get used to. I think with the Skyline Recaros, I ended up sitting quite high. So yeah, much better all in black rather than the black and orange. So yeah, hopefully this helps anyone who wants to go from one seat to another and needed to make some brackets. Just make sure that you get some, if you need some longer bolts, get them. But I suppose you're not going to know until you start it. There's a good idea with the nylon bushes, the spacers. I think the bolts could be a tiny bit longer, maybe 35mm, but I'll see how it goes. If there's any issues, then I'll order some bolts and get them switched over. So it's not that difficult to do. Now I know how to do it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.